So after our chat, Virgil, about changes that are underway, have you yet been to the Hue Expansionary Academy?
Many times.
Okay. You know
Yeah.
how the Hue Expansionary Academy Tower is on a white stone floor,
Yes.
blue glass tower with a oval top, okay, and there's a fountain.
Right.
Last night, that was moved with silent mentors right over the center of the island with the blue sphere with the crystal little star in it on the blue pedestal and placed right in the center of the entire landmass for the first time.
I'm glad they did that because I always felt when I said, you got to go over here. Let's see. But
I
okay, let's
felt
do
I,
that.
I felt like that since we created it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's why. It would channel too much power into the lower worlds through Thotnom's realm if it wasn't this way. As of last night, the amount of you coming into lower worlds has increased significantly in a new way. So it's now sitting on that island. If you go in the base of that tower now, that crystal sphere in the pedestal is still there, but
Uh-huh.
now centered, and all the roadways in the base of the six mountains go straight out to the roadways at the beach. And it happened while this woman was on her journey. Was
That's
awesome.
funny. When I go there, it's like, it's got even when I go, it feels like it's always slanting off to the left for me. I
Yeah,
say,
exactly.
why can't things just kind of like line up?
You
And
know what helped it line up?
no.
People like you and others that are moving into a different arena. It makes it
Oh,
possible.
okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah, I
so
haven't been there since last night.
somebody always asks, um, they're always asking, why don't they just come down and do this and that with Earth and just snap their fingers and wave a magic wand? I say because the Atmas that are stuck in the lower worlds represent a large percentage of what we call prime creator are still stuck. And
Yeah.
the channel needs to open up through them as they add their proper creative, co-creative nature awakened to the source. This is the whole point. So we can't change the lower worlds into something better without destroying them unless something else changes in the upper worlds first. Well, I started to realize what our purpose was, and then it started changing things. That's only took me a few billion years. Come on, overnight success.
Hey, you're not a rocket scientist. What can I tell you?
Nah, just one Atma. What can I say? So we're having fun first.
That's great. I'll be that. Yeah, this is really because I could feel that offness when I'm trying to get back into my body and that signal is like, why are we going?
Kind of makes you feel like you're going like this
Yeah, yeah,
and then
exactly.
down.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah,
We were. It
yeah,
still worked. It just didn't work exactly like it was
yeah.
meant
I
to.
get it. I get it. So all
That's why
that work of all the people
that's why
making
this
this work.
book took 5 versions to get that special technique section in the back. Do you think I wanted to go play with publishing this again and add a section? I was told by Torellian, no, yeah, no, it's great, you did good, but there's something still needs to be added here now. So I couldn't be a publisher like any other publisher. No one would have published anything like that. So I had to do it, or it wouldn't have got done. Now, when I open this up, my goodness, there's a 50 some page second uh, special technique section back there, and a glossary of characters and terms in a book like this. Phonetic pronunciations of words and terms that no one's ever heard before. Necessary. Most people will never read it, but it's
You
there.
know what I find of all the things that you've done that's most valuable for me has been to be able to have an image that I could lock onto of what I really look like and going and being in the center of consciousness of I am and creating from that place
Exactly. And that's
and energizing it with the hue.
yeah,
Okay.
because if you don't know what you look like, how are you going to imagine your way out of the trap?
Yeah, I agree. So what I say, that is big. By the way, where's the picture behind you of the Atma? You don't have that
Oh,
behind you.
that's easy. I just have to go into this and choose. I could choose this, but that's a little
No,
funky. No, this is
there
from
you go.
that's from the Emerald Doorway book.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've started to do this in all presentations now. I don't
I
care.
think it's wonderful.
I don't care if people like it or not or think I'm on an ego trip. The point is I'm making them look at what they are every time they look at me.
Y- y- these programs are the subconscious program.
Diabolical? Just a smidgen?
They just simply, when they show up, it, it's, well, anyway, we don't need to talk about it. Everyone has their own way of understanding it and reacting to it, or learning to manage,
Mostly
and
reacting to it.
mostly reacting to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which doesn't get them anywhere because it's just a program reacted to and it turns off, it turns back on, you react to it, nothing changes.
Regaining dominion over these these programs in real time has been my mission up until this point in time.
Yeah.
Uh, the journey, and I've learned a little bit over time of what works and what doesn't work, and mostly everything that I've learned over the last half century hasn't worked. It's kept me in the game,
Yeah.
but hey.
I realized that if I was to immortalize this body and showed it to people, I'd never hear the end of it. I wouldn't have a moment's time left to myself. I wouldn't be able to maneuver. People would be knocking on my door, finding me, breaking in and saying, "You're my savior." The things would happen that would be so ridiculous. The government would come here and take me away. How are you doing that without our permission? All kinds of stuff comes into this on a world like this that people don't realize when they don't think ahead before they leap into the fire. So if I have the ability to do something, better to keep it silent until people are ready to benefit from it. Yes?
Well, I think things are changing now.
They are.
The entire turmoil on the planet is reflective of the big questioning and saying, you mean to tell me life is not as I learned it in grade school and high school?
Not
I
hardly.
mean, things are different than, well, yeah, well, most everyone is talking about what's wrong without having an understanding of what to do to correct it.
You know
And
why I'm having fun with this?
say again.
One of the reasons I'm having fun with this with you is because this is English. It's not
Yes,
translated into Thai. It's a whole other animal of disciplines and inner discipline and experience and
right.
patience that is required. That isn't so required with English people because they already speak English and don't have to have anything translated.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
good too because we can have this conversation like we're having now. Before we go on the journey, your comment about this thing behind me is your view. You like it there. Perry does, everybody else does. So, okay, I'll reluctantly put it there, kind of thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. Seems pretentious to me.
Well, the with that symbol, with that image, and using the hue as the consciousness, the intelligence, the power that activates this being, this aspect, this beingness of me. That has been the most difficult and yet the most rewarding aspect of this entire process of unfoldment.
As far as I know, and this includes any organization on earth. That's the first time anybody's even showed what we look like because of technology and artistry and CGI.
Sure.
First time on this planet. I don't even know if that's stored this way in the Katsaperi Monastery in Argam-Des. Oh, wait a minute. It is now
In Agam
because
No.
it's here now.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not just records about the past that's kept guarded in such places. It's also the records of what takes place now that changes that's guarded in
Mm-hmm.
such places.
Mm-hmm.
because they
Mm-hmm.
basically work as beings with bodies that they're not trapped in to they don't work in space and time.
Mm.
They work in the pure hue moving through them while their body's in space and time. That's what they mean by repolarizing the lower body. The God
Explain more
realization.
about that.
Okay. When we go above the void, visit Satnam's realm, the first major division above the void, the barrier between the upper and lower worlds. Then we go up into the U Expansionary Academy, which didn't exist in the upper worlds till 9 or 10 years ago, Earth time. And then we go all the way up to Agam Purusha, and we go in across that room into the ocean of sound and light, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we go there and merge inside that, which
Yeah.
is much bigger than an individual and many more teardrops, but we're like it. Same as it, really, smaller scale. Drop in a mighty ocean, right? When we come back and we bring that kind of energy back through the dual current and harmonize it this way, not oppose it in thinking, good and bad, right and wrong, then that energy has a way to get into the physical universe directly.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't happened except through a few masters who just aren't enough in number to change it.
Yeah.
So once that happens, the body becomes repolarized to accept pure positive energy into the dual universe. That's big.
Interesting. I see the yin yang symbol and the
The two teardrops circling
yes,
around,
and
one's
the S that
black,
goes
one's
through
white,
it. Yeah.
golden
And
light
that
around it.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
That
they're in harmony with another energy around them, keeping them unopposed.
yeah.
That's the real formula that people have not doing it all. In many worlds, on many levels in the lower dimensions, they're doing this.
Well, I
What
get it.
what that does is split the consciousness in half. A whole round being starts to operate as if there are two opposing forces within themselves. They send out imagination and both currents separately opposed. The hue is a co-creator. It supports both, manifests both. If we create a trap, it manifests a trap for us. If we create
You know what
unmanifesting a trap, it unmanifests the trap for us.
what has come recently into my awareness and consciousness is that until I really got a handle on the power of the hue and the consciousness, intelligence within it,
Mm-hmm.
and that it dominates all things,
Yeah.
I could not look at certain things. In other words, if the gorilla in my house is bigger than the power of my faith
You mean
or
your perception of the gorilla
yeah,
house
yeah,
is
yeah,
bigger.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that idea of having the education, the exposure, the truth of the innate wisdom and power within the light and sound of the hue, within it has the ability to transform and transmute all that is unlike itself. Until I got put that in there and said, then I can look at anything. I can
Yeah.
begin to see.
Well, here's the thing. How could a being
Yeah.
assume that they are self and God realized if they're afraid of any part of the creation anywhere because the devil will get them or a reptilian will catch you? That's a
Yeah.
trap. As long as they're creating opposition, they're creating opposition. That's
Yeah.
not discipline. That's not masterful. It's not aware, or they wouldn't do it. So when I think of something this term that people have used, I'll call it Atma realization. What it is as an Atma, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what its relationship is to the great big one.
Yes.
That's God realization, understanding that relationship. And then it goes deeper into eternity, into greater possibilities of co-creating that never end. So we go deeper into perfection, you can't become more perfect than you are. But we go deeper into the wisdom to co-create with others far more advanced, new ways of doing things they didn't even think of yet.
So, Scott, one of the things that I have not ever heard you talk much about is this whole concept of love. In other words, and what that really means within the understandings that you
I can
have.
tell you what it means to the beings in the upper realities.
Let's talk about that for
Let's
a little
talk
bit.
about love and do as you will. The
Okay.
only law that exists in the upper realities, because there's no negative opposite nature at all. Not even allowed there. That's why they call it pure positive. It's not pure positive and pure negative. There's no opposite to it. So love, as it's known amongst countless beings in other worlds in the physical universe on evolved planets, is respect for all life. That's real divine love. And you can't respect all life and practice it unless you know all life that's in the multidimensional universe, which we are capable of knowing. Without that, you can't embrace the whole God, and you can't have the freedom that goes with that and the responsibility that goes with it. It's required.
The one of the things about as I've played with this, because in this incarnation, every teaching is talking about love this and love and love is the way, love is the path. And finally I had to put that aside and begin to say, and this is not my original idea at all, but the idea of love for me, as I can understand it and embrace it, as Reba Zartar said, at the end of the day, all you're looking for is to know truth and to be able to live and act in it.
That's
And,
respect for all life, by the way.
right. Well, with that those ever increasing levels of truth, to be able to accept them is the journey of unfoldment.
Here's the problem with love as it's dispensed by people, everyone on earth,
Yeah.
particularly planet Earth. I won't say that about other worlds because they're not lost in subconscious minds like we are. Okay, here. That love in the lower worlds has an opposite, hate.
Mm.
And there
Yeah, that's true.
so
That's true.
you can't get anywhere doing it if you're carrying a baggage of subconscious nonsense and trying to love. You're a good person, but your life is not any more free than your next door neighbor in a way.
Yeah. That's that this subconscious mind.
We're not supposed to have one.
I know, but we got it here. And I grew up in Eckankar,
Mm-hmm.
so it always is referred to as the little self.
Mm-hmm, right.
Or and yeah, but never how to transcend it or to get beyond it or to master it.
I didn't grow up in any organization, whether I've been part of them for a time or not. I grew up in the hue itself. The hue is not owned or patented or copyrighted or possessed by anybody on any world in any plane. It is the omnipresent living power itself. You cannot possess it. You cannot hold it in your hand. It moves, and we can agree to have it move through us for our benefit and benefit of others, but you can't grab it
Yeah,
anymore. You
yeah,
can reach into this and grab it with your hand.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't do it.
That's good.
So the part of surrender which so baffles people because they tyrants have brainwashed them to believe they're a doormat if they surrender to something. That's true if they do it with a subconscious mind. They're a doormat. But it means acknowledging and understanding the omnipresent power as the omnipresent power. And we're a drop made of the same thing. And that respect has to be there. It doesn't mean you worship it. It means you understand and respect it's the one power and you're a contributor, co-creator in it. That's the humble part. But it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean you worship it because as soon as a person worships that and puts it on a pedestal, it's forever receding away from them and they'll
Right.
never get there. It's
Yeah.
always above them. It has to be here, one on one. When I go to the sound and light, to the ocean of sound and light, I won't call it mercy because that's got a lot of negative connotations to
It
it.
does. Yeah.
And it does.
Yeah.
So I would say I go to the source and respect it. but I respect myself in like manner. That's what is meant by one of our friends, Paul used to say, when you see Sat Nam, you say, I am that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can walk and be with this person as a friend, someone you trust. It's not, you don't put them on a pedestal in a big giant lotus flower with a booming voice. That'll be
Mm-hmm.
forever receding away from you if you do that. And they'll be happy to acknowledge your creation, but it'll keep it like this. It's reciprocal. So we want reciprocal.
And the key though, the key is, going into the higher worlds or getting out of the body. Yeah, okay, fine, that's great. But bringing it back here
That's the
into
challenge.
an actionable state of being and feeling, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So
What is being done now with the people I co-create with and myself has never been done before. Not even in the lower dimensions, not on Earth. This is not to say that there are not countless millions of worlds that can get across the stars, that don't kill animals, they don't eat them, they don't have lives and marriages, they understand sex different, they understand going out of their body, they understand everything different than we do. And they don't have subconscious minds, they don't have implants, they don't have shut down genomes on their DNA like people all over this world do. So when they see things, we're not like them at all, really. And they understand the trap we're in. The biggest problem for them was, until fairly recently, how do billions of us change billions of those knuckleheads that are hell bent on destroying themselves to go to some heaven because of their chosen people?
mm,
How do you change that? How do you do it without people rioting in the streets? How
mm.
do you bring about a transformation so we can be invited to be a member of a huge organizations of world spacefaring systems? Can't do it the way we are.
No.
We go out there and cause havoc everywhere, try to take other people's property, fight over Russia and China and the US and all that. That is not our future in space travel, and it never will be. Because the fact is, space is already occupied by far more advanced races. We're going to have to get along with them, not the other way around. That's a problem for Earth people, isn't it?
Well, with all that I know and all the experiences that I've had and all the trouble that I have in integrating that into thought, feeling, and action, I say, yeah, it's a long, hard journey.
It can be a short, swift journey if enough people are boots on the ground here.
Right. I'm putting my boots on the ground,
That's right.
although I don't have any shoes on right now.
Well, they're not physical boot shoes anyway.
I understand that. I was just making a joke. What the heck?
No, but I mean, the reason you understand stuff, even if I say it to you for the first time, is once we started recording, this is telepathic. We're on the journey. We have been for quite a few minutes now. It's already begun. Atma to Atma, Atma to the Atmas we're going out to meet, and all of that. We're going to go aboard a ship in the physical universe, right here in the physical universe in our solar system. It's a mile long. It's stationed in the ice rings, or the ice chunks that make up the rings that surround the planet Saturn, and it's there permanently for now. It is a Galactic Alliance Emerald Star cruiser. It's a mile long. It has bridge controls on each end of the ship. It's designed to travel through interdimensional doorways to get across vast areas of space. The speed of light is not a factor at all. They don't travel faster than the speed of light. They don't travel in the limits of physical light at all. So there's no limits. They're stationed there to quarantine our solar system, because Earth people, in fact, are the most dangerous species of combined beings on one planet that's out in the universe right now. The most dangerous people are people on Earth, not out there. These reptilians and greys and things that were doing what they were doing in small numbers many, many years ago here on Earth were stopped. Not by our classified people. They weren't moved off Earth by us. That was done as a gift 25 years ago, just so we'd have a chance to go in a new direction. The implementation of subconscious minds and bringing about a subconscious structure within an Atma. It doesn't go in the Atma, it's in the field of energy that surrounds the Atma. Because nothing can mess with the inside of an Atma. Atmas come from source. They're not made of positive and negative matter, DNA, nuclear material, or atoms. The actual pure energy of the universe is not atomic in nature at all. It supports that in the lower planes of time and space on various levels. But it is not what it supports. So when we start working in the energy that comes from source, when we get outside of Earth's atmosphere, we plug right into it, right there in space. That is the hue. That black area isn't black, except to human eyes that have a limited perspective of seeing frequency. You get above it a little bit, you're into ultraviolet, infrared, and X-ray. You're really seeing the hue as you can see it as one of those. And you can see all the forms of energy and sound in all the planes. These faculties in here represent connections to each of the bodies you're running on each plane. They're also relative to the levels in the upper worlds at the same time. Each one of them is a higher faculty of co-creative potential. In beings on Earth, these Atmas running bodies have a lot of these turned off or shut down, or they haven't used them in 1 billion years. That is part of what these journeys do to rehabilitate getting them working again, as separate from implants.
Mm-hmm.
Implants have to go so you can get back to the awareness of how to use these and accept this new ray of energy of the hue, this new consciousness moving from the upper worlds into the lower planes. So you can accept the wisdom that's generated up there by us and accept it down here, so that when we utilize these faculties, we do it correctly and we don't set up opposites to trap ourselves, to make ourselves vulnerable to be trapped again. We don't want to be vulnerable. We want to end that forever, permanently. Primary implant contains torture and death, gruesome, something that really happened to us before we were compelled to be here with no memory. That's Earth and its people. They're unconscious. It's more like they're terrified to remember. Fear is artificial. It's not a normal human emotion at all. It's not a normal Atma emotion. It's not even a normal astral plane emotion. Did you know that?
I did not know that. No.
Because in the astral plane, fear and its opposite, what is the opposite of fear?
I don't know.
Confidence. Don't know what the opposite of love is, because opposite of love in the lower worlds is hate.
Mm-hmm.
There is no opposite for respecting all life in the hue. There's no opposite in it at all.
True.
Can't create opposition. It's like an advanced Tai Chi master, the few that exist, never get in a battle in the first place, because they don't create any opposing forces. A guy who comes to attack some, say, a Thai master, and he just moves out of time and space around them, or adds momentum to the direction the person's going, they crash into their own wall. There's no fight. And if they're really good, they never even have the confrontation in the first place. Isn't that interesting? So when we think of mastery and confrontation, people that have mastery or knowing don't create fights and opposites. They move through people doing it, unscathed, unbothered by it.
Mm.
And so if they're moving in that kind of vibration, They could walk with a physical body into a restaurant and sit down and you wouldn't even see them. There's no opposition, no contrasting forces to perceive them in the lower planes. That's what you would call invisibility. It isn't really, it's just knowing your vibrations, I suppose.
Mm.
It's more than that. And there's not that many beings in creation except in the high worlds that don't have subconscious minds. There's a lot more in our physical universe in the galactic lines that do not. They were never implanted in the first place. That doesn't
We
mean.
see a lot of people in the lower worlds have subconscious minds.
Oh yeah, quite a few, even in all the planes, up to the etheric even. The etheric is considered to be subconscious anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem with most people running a transparent, luminous, big old etheric body in the etheric plane? They live for millions of years. The bodies don't age. The problem is it's so relative to what they conceive of as paradise. They're not motivated to go across the void and complete the journey to be a co-creator with Source. They're stuck in a relative heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the motivation? And if their causal and astral emotional body and the physical one they have on Earth are also stuck in their own relative selfishness, the Atma is unconscious. A lot of these things aren't on.
So, what stops the Atma from just waking up and taking control of all of the bodies, which is what it's designed to do? In other
Fear.
words,
Artificially implanted fear. That's it. There's only one thing we ever have to give up on in the end in order to gain back everything we are and go further for the first time. And that's fear. That's the only thing we ever have to give up. Everything else falls into place around that. Everything.
well, since I had the secondary implant removal work done, did that, I have noticed changes in the way I approach my process of living and seeing.
That's natural. Yeah, yeah.
But still not free or mastery over the fear, terror programs and the compulsions. And I label my malady, my personal compulsion for destruction of self and others, and whether it's self-abuse or abuse of others. I say that in a general term, not that I am engaged in that activity consciously, at least.
No.
Um,
Here's
but
the thing, you already have the courage awakened in you to have met with me. Not me personally, but the hue in its pure form.
right,
Okay, you already did that. So you're not going to create perverted things towards others. They might come into your mind. You might come up and it's just an implant program. It isn't you, it never was. So the more we go into this, the more objectified you become from that program affecting you. When you know what's in the primary implant, how you died, it becomes a memory. It's no longer subconscious. The implant's still there, but now you have mastery to choose to indulge in it or just turn away from it and ignore the stupid thing. Look at a hummingbird, look at a waterfall, it turns off. Go into the hue, it turns off. You're going to find you have that ability.
well, I'll be interested. I'll certainly give you feedback after we get through this.
I'm sure you will. But I'm more interested in how you change than your feedback, really.
um,
In other words, how much more do you become you through the process? That's my interest.
as it is mine.
So we're on the same page.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rare enough for two beings to do that anywhere on Earth at the same time. Has to be a certain awareness for that harmony to be there. Do you remember I introduced Shantiel and Tonaltiel, a couple, Dantium and Lamtium, to you?
Yes.
I think Shantiel and Tonaltiel are the ones that worked with you. Now, they're the ones who remove secondary implants. I do not do that. I don't take credit for that. I receive the respect for guiding people to see what they can't see for themselves and get things awakened in them so they can begin to exercise dormant faculties so they can see for themselves without fear getting in the way. The primary purpose for this work is that. So before we get on this session, what I do in my own life is get in contact respectfully with certain beings that, for whatever reason, volunteer to be present at these sessions for people on Earth. They never did that before either. I've never seen Satnam come down from the Atma plane and hang out in space above to overview what we're doing. I've never seen that before. I don't think I ever saw that in billions of years. Something's changing. When we go on these journeys now, he's always there. I mean, I respect the guy. Whatever he wants to do is fine with me. It's all about placing pyramids with fountains in them in parallel dimensions that are just dark and terrible, where I have to go like Johnny Appleseed and get attacked and government people and classified people coming after me. And I don't fight with them. I just say, screw this, put a pyramid in there, turn it on, and leave. And I never go back to the same place twice, because I know that's changing that reality once I leave there. Satnam's involved in that, you see.
So this process of planting these seeds
Is him too, yes.
and carry the huge power and consciousness into these less enlightened places in creation.
If you don't change the problems in the lower worlds where you have bodies too, how's it going to land here?
I agree. Yes.
You got to fix the whole thing. Doesn't mean you destroy it and wipe it all out and bring all the Atmas up above the void, rebuild it, put them all back. Duh. That's been done several times and it didn't change a damn thing. Nothing changed. You can't do it that way. It's got to change up there, or we're more supposed to be responsible for what we create and assume responsibility of overseeing what we create through eternity. Can't be put on someone else's shoulders. Satnam's got his job. I don't want his job. I respect him. I love him the way he is. I have my own job. I don't want anybody else's job. We're co-creators, and it's fun that way, you know. Then I get to present to these guys ways they hadn't thought of. And if it's tested and works, they implement it. I don't implement anything by myself. No. It's fun. So, you know, when pure positive energy moves through us, it makes you very jovial. It's almost funny. That's why Chantel and Tonaltel, when they remove a secondary implant, are giggling and laughing and jumping around. They're charged up from it. So it's very interesting. Yep. Things are always changing and expanding in what we call, and I mean we, not singly I, what we call the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It's a place where silent mentors, I call them mentors now because they are, and master teachers and very advanced beings can collectively work to create something new together that never existed before, ever, even in the upper worlds. Once that begins, beings begin to become involved in the potential to become a new order of being. A cross between a silent mentor and a master teacher. Master teachers have more of a compassionate, or let's say respectful nature for all life, Silent ones really had no interaction with beings like us at all. I mean, none. They're busy running the whole creation, the mechanics of the universe, unlimited in every way. No, they don't have subconscious minds.
Years ago, in my studies in Eckankar, we talked about the nine silent ones.
Well,
How do
make
those,
references in this work to that organization because I'm not involved with it.
I know that.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to promote or denigrate it. I just let everybody go do whatever they want. It's up to them. I don't care. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not a foe to any organization or an enemy at all, but I can be a great friend. And I don't care whether they see it that way or not, because I'm busy doing separate work in the hue from them.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can do it. And it was necessary for me to establish myself in the upper worlds in some way, because
Yeah, I get that.
that was my purpose for returning. It wasn't selfish. In fact, what I found along the way, because of choices I made when I first dropped all forms of revenge, is that we are supposed to be bringing back new ways of doing things to the source prime creator from all of our lives and experiences in all the dimensions, and people have not been doing it. Nothing changes. So, as part of the source, as individual co creators with it, we're meant to bring back new ways of doing things from insights that only we can provide there. Each individual. It cannot come from the source itself. The source can implement and manifest as the one power what we imagine, but it doesn't do the imagining for us.
Hmm.
Interesting, huh? So, whatever you do up there becomes your responsibility in eternity. It isn't something you can throw off on someone else. There's no fear, no fatigue, no bodies to run, no bathrooms to go through, no animals to eat. And it doesn't, it's completely different. If we want that kind of balance to exist in the lower worlds of time and space, then bitching about changing it won't change it.
Before we get started, let me take a break from a human vessel here.
Sure,
I'll be
here,
right back.
I'll just pause this.
Say again.
I'm
Pause.
pausing. I'm
I'm
recording.
back.
Now, what
I'm
was?
back.
Yep, I see.
Okay.
It's been recording
Okay.
just before you walked in, which is good. What was those hues? Those that I send out? 6 of them. Places a conduit and opens a doorway to above Satnam's realm to the U Expansion Ray Academy, to the tower that's now centrally located between the 6 snow-covered mountain peaks. This is to allow and have a doorway open for energy that is pure positive above the void to come into this journey to review a primary implant, your primary implant. Now, previous session or sessions took you on a journey outside of the atmosphere of Earth that is very negatively impacted with all the things that have ever been done on Earth to people, to everything else. We get out in space in the pure hue, which is that black area people see in a Space Hubble telescope image. The human eyes on Earth are not very evolved. They only see a small spectrum of light. So they see it as black. Even some classified scientists and even some non-classified scientists today on Earth understand that energy they used to call dark matter isn't what they thought it was at all. It's an omnipresent power. They can't see it, but they know it's not atomic or nuclear. It doesn't observe the laws of physics. It is the energy behind and supporting little things that create electromagnetic fields to float in it, like galaxies. Little things. More advanced races among the stars understand how to work with that non-nuclear energy, so they get around everywhere. All right, fantastically more advanced than we are, individually and technologically. This is the outer space people on Earth are thinking they're going to go play in and ravage, fight over the spoils of other people's property and all that nonsense. This is never going to happen. There will never be a Star Trek type of future in our future with radioactive warp core driven ships and all that. Great movies, I like them, but that's not the future because they don't use energy like that to get around. Radioactive polluting sources, no. They use the pure hue itself to get around through their technology. That changes everything when you begin to think like this. One of the things that opens a conscious doorway between the being you are here, the being I am here on Earth, the Atma we are that's running this body, which is spherical like that, which is behind me in this image, which is what we really look like, not one of these. It is made of that non-nuclear energy. And it has the ability to know and understand how to see, know things, and move around in that omnipresent power. Any plane, any planet, any level. As we move into what people refer to as mastery, we begin to awaken our innate ability to know how to circumnavigate the multidimensional creation, like a spaceship, except we're the ship. The most advanced spacecraft out among the stars on billions of galaxies on many levels do not travel into even the astral plane, next major division above the physical universe. In the physical universe, there are 144 parallel dimensions of planet Earths and Milky Way galaxies. It's just big. And so more advanced cultures can travel between them in ships, but they don't go into the astral. You got to go there out of body and have a body there and play around in astral matter and astral ships. And all the way up to the etheric. No ship travels across the void into the upper realities. Only the Atma itself can do that. For the first time, what we call the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, the beings who have just paradisical worlds compared to people on Earth, are traveling above the void because now they're aware to do it. They weren't before, for the most part. Until the Say-Rays human race returned to that Galactic Alliance Council, they weren't really doing that. Their consciousness changed in how they view Earth at that time. In the history of the solar system, a planet called Maldek was blown up from the inside out with one device. 3 billion people perished in an instant. It is now an asteroid field circling in the orbit of a planet between Mars and Jupiter. That's just in our solar system. Its real history is not known to people on Earth. But the people that died there, guess which planet they came to? Earth. So we have a tendency of beings on Earth to recreate what they've already done incorrectly once before. And then there are beings put here from all over the galaxy, trapped, put here, stuffed in bodies, given subconscious minds, which is nothing more than an energy hologram placed in the electromagnetic field outside the Atma. It is through that field that it looks to see and know things in the universe. And if that's distorted, or there's terror and fear and torture in it, then people don't look. They get diverted in another direction while they're alive on Earth. So, the first step is to have secondary implants gone for good. Not the memory of the great lives that were there, they're covering up. That stays. The negative effect goes. And then, you're hovering near above the ceiling looking at your body, Virgil, like I am now. You can keep your eyes closed. It's okay. Close your eyes. It shuts off any light and energy coming from the atmosphere of Earth, which is mostly negative. So, and once our eyes are closed, it opens a doorway through the pineal gland, creates a link in the hue, like a tunnel of light, to the Atma hovering above it, and the Atma becomes aware of being able to look down and see it. On Earth, we call this daydreaming. That's just the ability to look at yourself going to the store, and then the body gets in a car and follows where you see. People incorrectly, because they're taught incorrectly, that the imagination is coming from some part of their physical brain gray matter. It's not. People don't imagine from that tool. It's not designed to do that. They don't know this, so they think imagination is coming from their brain. When they begin to become aware, as we have, that imagination is being generated by the Atma, the non-physical spherical being we are, people on Earth call soul, without really knowing what it is or what it looks like. When we start to know and understand this, we become the knower, not the believer. Faith moves into direct experience. This is what should be taking place. Direct experience is an aspect or a quality of the Atma itself. It only acknowledges, when it's free of fear, direct experience. And it needs to do that in order to go back to the source it came from and download its own unique perspective into that source, Prime Creator, which will always bring something unique to the table. And then, and only then, can what we call the source or Prime Creator change, and in that way change the lower worlds and how they're run into something better than exists now. The lower universes are fine. The galaxies, the planets, the moons, the suns, the gravitational fields, how they balance in the hue and the omnipresent power, doorways between dimensions, the silent mentors that guard that manage all that, mechanics of the universe is fine. It's the people stuck in illusion in bodies in the lower worlds that's the problem, not the creation. And here's the thing. We as individuals, knowing who we are, that has not this one limited lifetime and one personality for this one existence here on Earth, we are ancient. We are as old as the source behind all life itself, because we are individual drops of a mighty ocean of that same source. We were there before the lower worlds of time and space were even built. So you see what kind of a trap it is for a being to think they're one life on one planet and they're terrorized or afraid subconsciously to remember anything else. This is what is being reversed. So when you're imagining, which is really seeing, not illusion, not fantasy made up in the brain, the creative imagination, let's call it creative, means your ability to see into the multiverse somewhere, because some of the faculties or teardrops in the Atma that is spherical has the ability to connect with any frequency anywhere in the multiverse. Look at it from here or out of body, see it, and then, and only then, can the one power take us to where we imagine, because the fact is, it is the manifesting power. We are not. One Atma can't manifest much. It has a small amount of the hue that it's made of and that moves through it. But the majority of that one power that brings into manifestation what we imagine comes from the one power. We better know it and respect it, or we're in trouble. It's not a tyrant. It's not a dictator. There is no God on a throne somewhere in the upper worlds in some heaven that dictates everything to everyone. It just supports all life on all the levels. Its function is to be a co-creator with us. We are expected to do what's correct for the good of ourselves and all life. And this is not what people are doing on earth. They're doing just the opposite. Desperately trying to destroy themselves to get free in some way, like some shortcut. There is no shortcut. There is no way into freedom, scooting around fear. Fear has to go bye-bye. And it has to go away permanently. A normal being has no fear. It is not a structure subconsciously or any part of the Atma. It's illusion. It is Maya. It is holographic terror. It is nonsense. Even implants are placed in the field of energy outside of the Atma. The electromagnetic field that surrounds the Earth is also the hue, in a form that allows it to float in a bigger form that is not an electromagnetic field. As Atmas, we have the same field around us, and the body has the same big spherical energy field around. It's not a little aura next to the body with a few colors that some people see. It's much bigger than that. And implants are duplicated out there that are connected to the implants that circle around the Atma itself. It's a misuse of higher science. It's a misuse of energy. And it's temporary, because fear or evil was never meant to be permanent. Ultimately, an Atma, by itself, even implanted in terror, will surface enough courage to cross paths with the hue and begin their journey back home, no matter what was done to it, even if it believes desperately that it has no ability to conquer fear, or doesn't have the confidence to understand its master over any form of negative nature or technology, because we are. Tyrants want to screw with that so that we doubt it. And then when doubt is negative, it's backed by terror, and you're right back in the same trap. When you are hovering above your body, there are two beings hovering there beside you right now. One is named Shantial, a male, the other Tonaltial, his mate, his partner, in all the planes, including the physical. That's rare, but many beings have been able to do things like that. They serve as examples only to show us how they did it. And then eventually, it rubs off. They teach by direct example, not on a blackboard with chalk, not by having people take tests true and false. This is not how instruction is done in the upper realities. It's not even how people are instructed on other planets by the Galactic Alliance. There's 450 million spacefaring world systems in that organization. That only takes care of a little under half of our galaxy. That's just one galaxy. Shantial and Tonaltial remove secondary implants. I guide people to see this process. They do it. Why? Because they weren't born on Earth. They do not have subconscious minds. They were never implanted. They don't grow up on planets that are anything like Earth. And so when they get out of their bodies, they put to sleep on a ship. They have to be out in the Atma to do this, in the electromagnetic field. Doesn't matter how technologically advanced they are. This is where implant removal comes into it. The primary implant looks like a four-sided pyramid, golden-sided with a nice quartz cap. It's the misuse of the purpose for such an image, placed in the North Pole and the South Pole, pointing downward, just above where the electromagnetic field comes out of the top of the Atma like it does around the Earth and goes in the South Pole. These two keep the primary implant off. So you can make the journey to a ship. There are a number of places where these white chairs are, not just that ship. But in this case, to keep it close to home, we're going to go to that ship. And you're going to sit in a white leather-like chair. But first, these two that are standing beside you, you see their bodies with long hair, their shoulders with slightly bigger eyes than human, about 36. Yet their physical body on their ships are hundreds of years old. They don't age. They're showing you the way they look in their physical reality. It's a pure energy form. It's not nuclear. It's not DNA. And above that is the Atma they are showing you this. But here's the thing. You've got the same type of body at 36, perfect and flawless as a male. You're showing them. That's something you've always known how to do. When fear is off, this opens up again. It's not new. It's not something, some skill you have to acquire in the infinite future. It's something you need to get back first. And then we're out in space, in a circle of beings around Ambassador Turellian. Why him? Because he is a representative of human beings and many other races. This race was very tall. It is a prototype race before we were brought into creation, meaning the body forms we run. 18 to 25 feet tall. They didn't evolve in our galaxy. They didn't evolve even close to here. But they were responsible, as very advanced, enlightened scientists, to create genetic forms for races and beings that are in the physical Milky Way galaxy and others, and to nurture them and bring them up to spacefaring capability. And they did that responsibly and then stepped aside. They disappeared. And came back recently to see what we've done with it. I think it's obvious what we've done with it. Not a very pretty sight. Those beings that were terrorizing other worlds 500,000 years ago during a galactic war that came to an end where they lost, and greys that were abducting people and all the other stuff people have heard about. These beings were all benevolent at one time. Reptilians were vegetarians. They weren't what people think. They had to be terribly perverted and twisted by another race to behave this way. Those kinds of threats, no matter what anybody sees or hears on the internet, are no longer present on planet Earth. In fact, they're not in our solar system at all. There's no more new abductions with little grays, no more reptilians in bases underground. They're gone, but they weren't removed by the classified people on Earth. They didn't know how to do that. It was done as a gift for us. Now we have a ship. And it's out in the ice rings stationed there, the ice rings that make up the rings that circle the planet Saturn. It's a mile long. And Turellian is standing there showing you an 18-foot tall body that looks human. You could go up and touch it. But he doesn't have the burden of running a physical body around or taking it to the bathroom or feeding it. It's not a DNA body. In fact, the Sayrays don't have physical bodies at all. They don't even have astral or causal bodies, like Satnam doesn't. They've evolved to the point of manifesting when they want to use it for some purpose. They draw from the omnipresent hue around, create it around the DNA they've stored, and bingo, zingo, there's a body. And then they just take it apart and store it when they're done with it. So Turelian serves as an example of the hue that's coming through him. He has his two thumbs up, just to show us what he's doing. There's a golden light around each of them. It's a white golden light. It's brighter than the white golden light of the hue that surrounds us in space. You cannot bring any negative nature, thoughts, or feelings and store it in the omnipresent space that galaxies float in. It is not storable. You can't put it there. So the hue remains the hue, just outside of Earth's atmosphere. In the atmosphere, everything ever done by people, to animals, to plants, to the sea, to the sky, to the environment, remains recorded in Earth's atmosphere. It does not go outside of it. This is a problem for people on Earth because they're surrounded by the things they've created. And that goes back 65 million years to the end of the great dinosaurs. So we do our work outside of Earth's atmosphere until that atmosphere can be properly cleaned and the oceans recharged, because oceans on Earth are depleted. The 8 billion people here block the charge coming into Earth. There's a little bit of a charge around the equator, but water on normal worlds glows a foot above the waves. It glows in waterfalls. It glows in the sap in trees, on leaves. People imbued with this charged water also create a glow around them. You meet an extraterrestrial man and woman from the Galactic Alliance, and they're going to have a glow around them. It's going to freak most people out. It's normal to them, but people on Earth will look at them as like angelic, worship them. So they don't interact with people much. People aren't ready for that. Have a subconscious primary implant would terrorize the first person who loves extraterrestrials and that whole idea. If a man and woman landed in a ship and got out and walked up to an individual on Earth implanted, they would want to get on the ship, but their body would turn and run away in terror. They would not be able to control it. Beings from other worlds understand this. So you see, spaceship rides are quite a privilege. And a person has to be ready to be constructively contributive to that organization in order to go on such rides. They don't have time to give spaceship rides to everyone on Earth that wants it given to them on a golden platter, but they're not willing to do anything to get it. That doesn't work. This means we have to be co-creatively awake enough to create what experiences we wish to have. Now in space, the white golden light around us is not black. It has a sound. It sounds like rumbling thunder. It's omnipresent around us. It's the sound the physical universe makes. The Atma can hear and see it. It's a white golden light. It's living power from source. It has a sound. That sound becomes more refined as we move up through the parallel dimensions. And when it gets into the astral plane, the next major division in the lower worlds, it becomes more of the sound of water crashing on an ocean beach. And then there are levels to that. So out here in space, we hear and see truth. It cannot elude us. We're in it, plugged into it. Master Ramu, with his staff, it's his trademark, standing in a circle around Turelian towards the Earth. It has the polar ice caps, the oceans and land. The barren moon orbits the planet but never turns on its axis. Most unnatural. The sun, all the stars, big blue giants, great big suns, yellow mud, thousands, millions of times bigger than our sun. Smaller suns, little red dwarfs, great big red giants are all out there in space. And we can see them hovering in this other energy, just like we are. It's like the planet's a being, has an electromagnetic field around it, and it floats and orbits the sun. Atmas don't have that limitation. We're not limited to orbiting a sun. We can move anywhere. Respect for the worlds we live on, we're supposed to be custodians and caretakers of such things. People on Earth are doing quite the opposite of that. And so they get what they put out. They cannot be blamed entirely because what was done to them was not their choice. Let's just say that in history, the one they don't remember, they were vulnerable to be captured for one reason or another, just like I was. What we're doing now is moving into the hue in a new way so that as we acquire back what we were made to forget, we also acquire the wisdom to never be vulnerable again. One way. The new ray of the hue moving in the omnipresent hue only moves one way now. It always ever did, but it's moving in a newer way through the lower worlds of time and space. Opelum is a master teacher, a human or humanoid from the planet Oceania, who's blue skin, beautiful pale blue skin, long jet black hair to his shoulders, emerald green eyes, about 6 feet tall, about 36 to 40 looking. That's actually the body, how it looks on his planet. That body's immortalized. It's over 500,000 years old. 500,000. Ramu's over 500. Satnam, who's hovering in space high above us right now, standing there looking over this scene, has no age in that relativity. He's never had lower bodies. As Atmas, we don't have lower bodies either that we possess. We run them for a time, but we don't own them any more than we can possess the omnipresent power itself. That's quite impossible. We can plug into it knowingly and have this one power, have access to this one intelligence. So when we imagine something that's good for all life, it can fill it everywhere. As individuals, we can't do that. We can co-create with many countless other beings who are awake and enlightened and aware to co-create in this way, and the power will come through all of us in that way and manifest something. Etta and Din are Drens. They are not human. They're hovering above where the Atma hovering above Ambassador Trollian's body would be, and they're just hovering there. Satnam's further up. The two of them, male and female, are a mated pair in all the planes. The bodies they're showing you are exactly like their bodies look back on Oceania, where Opelum comes from. Their tails are glowing like crystal opal in bright sunlight because as silica-based DNA creatures, not carbon, they evolved with the ability to defy gravity and fly through the air in an oxygen atmosphere, even outside of it. The charge is set up in the tail that creates an electromagnetic field around it, much like the one around the Earth, which has no problem balancing itself amongst other worlds and galaxies in space. There's no floor on which it sits. It hovers there, just like we do. As you look above Satnam, you'll see an open vortex, a golden white light spinning clockwise, and above that 6 snow-covered mountain peaks on the other side. There's a shaft of white golden light coming down through it, through him, through Torellian's hands. So we're surrounded by a brighter hue than the one that's in space normally. Torellian points out beyond the moon and the earth, and the whole group of us, Shantiel, Tonaltiel, you, me, Ramu, Pelham, Etin, Din, Ambassador Torellian, Satnam, are moving through space. Planets are whirling by us, just in a blur, and then suddenly we stop. We're looking down on the planet Saturn. Its 1.5 miles or so thick rings are made of big chunks of frozen water. How the heck did water get out in rings circling a gas giant? Hmm, isn't that mysterious? So this big ship we're seeing down there near the surface, under the ice rings, is a mile long. It has a blue-gray metallic hull. It has a blue anti-gravitic light, a thin layer around the hull. It has an electromagnetic field set up around the entire craft. Ice chunks don't bump into it. It's stationary. It has curved bridge windows on one side, the same identical ones on the other, that's away from our view towards the gas giant. There are little vertical 6-foot wide oval convex observation windows that line the middle meridian of the hull around the ship. It is a mile long. There's several scout craft, disc shape, blue-gray metallic hull with a blue anti-gravitic light around them approaching the central section of the hull. And as they move into the hull, they raise their molecular time rate of the electromagnetic field around the craft, changes the molecules of this craft itself, and it becomes out of phase with the molecules of the hull. There are no open launch bays on this ship. And they go right through the hull and then land in a hangar bay as they lower the time rate of the molecules of their craft. It's a function of technology. We're going to go into the central section of this ship, above the launch bay floor. And there are two things. Below the launch bay floor is a pyramid in a special chamber. It's quite large, not like the one in Gups in Egypt, but it's four-sided golden with a quartz cap, and it's transparent. In it you can see a fountain, like white alabaster stone, and a statue of Satnam standing in it. And there's a white shaft of golden light coming down into this pyramid, radiating out through the ship for the crew. These started to appear on Galactic Alliance big carriers some time ago. They didn't build them. This has something to do with what we're doing in the upper worlds and has something to do with Turelian as well. Up above the hangar bay is a huge chamber. There is a spherical chamber there, maybe, I don't know, in terms of feet. It has a golden quartz luminous floor. It's charged, about a foot thick. And the inside circumference of this dome have perfect quartz crystals, transparent, pointing downward towards a dodecahedron chamber in the center of this chamber. The rest of this sphere goes under the gold quartz floor, and the same kind of crystals point upward to the bottom of this chair. There are dodecahedron sided windows, and you can see a white leather chair sitting in the exact middle inside this chamber, down near the center, and there's a semicircular control console in front of it. It has luminous faceted crystal controls, and there are two technicians, a man and a woman, with Galactic Alliance uniform, operating these controls. If you look at the front, which you can do as an Atma and observe, they know we're here. Turelian's here, he's 18 feet tall. The chamber is much taller than that, so he can fit in here easily. He can change his size anyway. But this is what he likes to present to people. What he was before their whole race immortalized their bodies in this very special way they did. There are two commanders of this ship, John Troll and Sundima. And they're standing to each side of the technicians. They have this Galactic Alliance single form-fitting bodysuit on that even the footwear is part of. And on the right chest is a silver galaxy. Above it is a four-sided golden pyramid with a quartz top and three blue stars in triangular formation above the apex. Master Opellum from Oceania is here as an Atma, as a physical form. They see it. We're looking at the physical bodies of the crew, but above them is the Atma hovering there just like us. They know it. The one hovering above Torellian is there. The one hovering above me, I look to be about 36. My body looks like Captain Calum. That was a life I had over 100,000 years ago. But it fits the image. And you, Virgil, are going on a Primary Implant Revue journey. We do it inside that chamber. To the left of this dodecahedron chamber is a series of clear quartz luminous steps that go downward and circle around and come up behind that chair in the chamber. So you, this form you have that's perfect physical looking you see yourself suddenly sitting in the chair. I'm standing behind the chair. The Atma I am's hovering above it. You're hovering above your form. Torellian's outside. The two commanders of the ship are behind the technicians, a man and a woman, and they're placing their hand over a spherical luminous blue crystal control. And they're touching pyramid and other faceted crystals, and they're doing something with turning on this chamber. So remember that this takes place with you as an Atma, with a physical form that has no problems, about 36. It's how you reveal yourself to others when you're not affected by fear. The primary implant has been kept off with your sleeping body back on Earth. The sound of the you hear is always that of a high note of a flute, but not like a flute on Earth. It plays a hauntingly beautiful melody, and it moves down through the chair. Those crystals on the inside circumference of this chamber turn on and glow with a golden transparent light. It's focused right at the chair. And then you look at these screens, these 8-sided, these dodecahedron-sided screens. These glass windows become like LED screens. They turn on and you can see them. Images start to form all around you. And you're asked by John Troll and Sundema telepathically, simultaneously, show us the most terrorizing thing that's been bothering you your whole life. When you sit in this leather chair, it wraps itself around your body and conforms to your shape, and then an uplifting vibration that's cooling and warming at the same time moves up through this pure energy form. It's affecting your body back on Earth. And you relax. And then you begin to see images form all around the windows. And you're out walking. I will start this off. You are out walking by a river on a planet closer to the galactic core of this Milky Way galaxy. And you're walking aboard a ship that's maybe 10 times bigger than a Scout class, still disc-shaped, but much larger. And as you get aboard with several other people, fellow co-creators in that area, you're wearing a Galactic Alliance uniform. You are like a admiral, one of many. And as you get aboard the ship, and that door closes and the seam vanishes and the anti-gravitic light turns on around it, it moves up about 50 feet above this blue disc-shaped pad in front of a 3 geodesic dome complex and darts off into space and then vanishes. The next thing you see is you're on a journey through the solar system where Earth is. And you're on your way to the planet Saturn. There is no Emerald Star Cruiser parked there now. And you move forward and go on your way past the moon, and then on your way to Earth, much like what happened to me, your ship is intercepted, fired upon, stopped, and boarded, and then you're removed. The others are killed, and you're taken to an alien ship and flown out to some other desolate planet, and you find yourself strapped, like I was, to a cavern wall. The beings that approach you then are sadistic, gloating over your capture. They sneak around like the cowards they are. And this was done not during wartime. It was done as a way of revenge. And they've been doing it for 500,000 years and being caught most of the time, but not always. So then you're looking at this terrible thing. And then when they approach you, they have their own creative ways of torturing and killing you. The implant process is a technological misuse of science, stolen from a planet of humans that created to keep people from ever having subconscious minds. They controlled those scientists and made them twisted into a tool to incarcerate and imprison beings. Stick them in bodies against their will. Earth's a great place to do it. But first, they have to torture you so you have your own death experience. And it can be set up as a subconscious experience. So you'll never want to see it again, because the warning is if you do, we'll eat you again. That's a primary implant. That's a tough one to look at. But remember, you are surrounded by very respectful, loving beings. Your body and your form on Earth and the body on the ship are safe. This is reviewing what's going to happen to you. And you will feel it as if it's happening. But you'll also know you're the Atma hovering above the body and that you are safe. Move forward into the experience, Virgil. And just watch what happens. You are safe. Not a fun thing to go through. I've been through it. In my case, I was an ambassador sent to Earth many decades ago to try to get certain leaders of the world to agree to accept our help then. We were turned down. I never made it that far. You might say that now in my life I'm beginning to fulfill a mission I got interrupted a very long time ago. Many, many, many other beings out in the Galactic Alliance are involved now in this process, not just me alone, or I would never attempt it. So move forward and watch how you were tortured and killed there. The Atma will end up hovering above the body, and they're projecting red energy beam weapons around the Atma to create something in the electromagnetic field. And they're going to stick that in some kind of container. They're going to bring it to Earth, and they're going to just randomly select somebody and stuff your ass in it, kicking out the being that's there, often as a child or a newborn. And then you're commanded to never remember this, or else. The or else part of it, you have to understand while you're going through this experience, is not a real threat. They aren't anywhere near our solar system anymore. What was done is done. There's no more threat here. But people believe there is. That's the problem. Leaders, both political and religious on Earth, believe there is. That's the problem. You're on a ship, strapped to a wall. 2, and these happen to be reptilian, quite strong, 9 feet or 10 feet tall, very muscular, retractable claws, violet eyes like with red pupils that are like a cat, and bipedal, spacefaring race. They were perverted far worse than you're about to be to do what they're doing. They are terrorized from birth. It is after I understood this that I was able to let go of revenge. The choice is yours. Follow it through. See how you were killed. Not pretty. I'm not sure that we should voice how that is on a recorded journey. It's going to be a little different for everyone. Some people were destroyed this way out in the universe and brought to Earth. You happen to be closer in when it happened to you. That was 155,000 years ago. Hmm. There was no war in the universe at that time. The Hue Expansion Ray Academy, the new ray in the Hue itself, as a new way of dealing with lower world suppression, wasn't in existence then. And we were vulnerable. The compulsion in the program that's implanted says, you shall reincarnate life after life on the prison planet Earth, which is what they did for you. It's not a prison planet. And you will not know, or you will have this happen to you again. That's why it's so difficult to look into it by yourself. You can't. You need energy around you. You need that chair. You need masterful beings. You need the right kind of protection, and then you can finally review it. Now, may I ask, you see how you were killed?
Sort of.
We'll sort of go further forward. It's not going to happen to you again. Don't worry about that. Poking out the eyes is a good one. Ripping off arms and swallowing them whole is a good one. Cutting open your abdomen, lighting you on fire, throwing you into lava. Any of the things are fair game. For primary.
It's a dissolution. It's a dissolving process.
Will they throw acid on you?
Don't know what it is, but it's very painful, and it's just a dissolving into nothingness at the physical body. Something like acid, an acid equivalent, but
yeah.
the energetic system, but it's red.
They have a couple of weapons that fire this at you.
And that's why the red has been such a big deal in this lifetime.
Yeah, sure. Because it will dissolve molecular bonds, but you burn, literally disintegrate in pain.
Yes, painful. Yeah.
All right. That's about all you need to know. Other than you may remember where you were first stuffed into a body, and you may not. Might not even have been on Earth at first. But eventually you ended up here. From 150,000, 55,000 years ago to now. You could have incarnated this way on another planet if they stuffed you there and come back to Earth, or they might have brought you later just for fun, and so forth. You don't need to see any more gruesomeness than what you've just experienced, because that is Primary Implant Revue. This becomes a memory. It can no longer affect you in this terrorizing, painful red light way as it once did, because now it is no longer subconscious.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Mm.
So as you move forward in the days, you're going to find that the things you struggled so hard to try to get to, and then just would turn them on and get caught in them, they don't work the same way now.
Mm.
The influences are one where you have choice to indulge in it further, or simply go eat a popsicle. You can open your eyes back here on Earth.
Yeah, I'm back here. I'm back here now.
That's good. Okay. This is why these things are so difficult to prepare people to go on just an primary implant review, because it is the opposite of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. But what's important is to be able to disassociate from it.
Exactly. And now you can, because your higher faculties of the Atma are waking up on the other side of this memory recovery.
Yes. Yes. And that has to work with not only the physical body, but all the bodies.
Correct.
because that has affected me on all of the levels of my beingness.
But here's what we did that we did not describe. We're still on the journey, whether your eyes are open or not. When we were doing this, you remember that I stated that there was an energy coming from the Hue Expansion Ray Academy
Yes,
down through Satnam, through Turelian, through you, and through all of us?
yes,
That means it was coming down through your etheric, mental, causal, and astral bodies at the same time.
right. Okay.
We don't waste time this way.
These puppies working.
These guys are helping, they're becoming aware of each other and how to help each other, which is what they should have been doing. They were not doing.
Hmm. That means I can let go of the potato chips tonight.
You could. So you close your eyes, and now you're out in the chamber instantly. There's no time and this is direct projection. Okay, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not Atma travel. It's direct projection.
I get it.
You
I
can
got
put the hue as an Atma in the hue anywhere. So there you are, standing outside this chamber, looking back on the chair you were just sitting in. We need to complete this experience so you can bring it home. John Trawl and Sundima walk up to you and place a hand, both of them, a right hand on your chest, and nod. You feel their energy coming through you. It's real camaraderie, real recognition. And so you place your hand on your chest and just nod to them respectfully. Thank the technicians. Thank Turelian. You can thank me, but it's more important that you thank these other beings who helped you to be there and to protect your interest while you're going through this. The primary implant remains in the electromagnetic field surrounding you, but it is turned off. That can't be removed now or it would kill your physical body. They're nasty. So there will be a time come when you, by yourself, will co-create with these beings, removing it permanently. That has to be done off-world. Now, this is not a problem for them. There will come a time when such things will be available to all the people of Earth, when it's ready to receive it and keep it. The world's governments are going to have to go through some major changes as far as its leaders, religious leaders, in order to let go of their fear. And then they'll work together. And then we can be invited to be part of the Galactic Alliance of Spacefaring Worlds. We won't have to learn how to do the technology. They'll give it to us at no cost. They don't use funds or money on their worlds. Only tyrant worlds do that. We have to because we're here. So we have to.
Well,
Which is okay.
I think we're good.
Now you can go back and look at that, and some of the details you might resist seeing. But when you review that, and by the way, you can review that primary implant again and again. The more you do it, the less effective it's going to be. But when you see the details of how you were destroyed, I think you saw the basic of it.
I did.
Then that's all you need. It's
Yeah.
The effect is no longer subconscious on your nervous system. Okay, I will bring this recording to a stop.
And you can post this for whatever edification or help anyone else can get from this